You're listening to the Showlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yo. What up? What up, man? This is your boy, Morphin Obese, and you're listening to the Showlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff, you dig? How y'all doing? Happy New Year's, man. I am off my hiatus. It's been a long time, y'all. There's been a lot going on, man, and if I could just be real with you guys, man, I had to put it on the back burner for a little bit, man. You know, life happened. You know what I'm saying? I had to get some things, some priorities in check, and family, and household, and paying my bills and all these things, man. So it was unfortunate that I had to put the podcast to the side, man. But I'm back, and I'm trying to, I'm gonna try to do this thing, man. Appreciate you guys for continuing to listen to all of the old episodes and stuff, and shout out to my guy Omar for picking up the slack when I had to back out for a minute. But yeah, man, we're back. You're listening to the Showlab Producer Podcast, man, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig? So with this year starting out, which we're in February, a lot of stuff has been happening, you know what I'm saying? And one of the main, I guess, I don't want to say the main topic, but what I want to start this new episode out with is just the climate of, from my standpoint, from how I see it, as a producer, as a sound designer, et cetera, et cetera. A lot has changed. A lot of things have came into fruition, and some, and this is just my opinion, y'all, just my opinion, but some of the stuff has been for the good and some has been for the bad, man, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it from a sound designer's standpoint, just to see what you guys think about it and how y'all feel about it, man. It's a conversation that I've had with a couple of friends of mine's in regards to the topics, and there's two topics I want to talk about. I've had conversations, and some share the same opinion and some don't share the same opinion, and that's okay to have a difference of opinion. So the first topic I want to talk about is, as a sound designer, most of us as sound designers and composers, when we put out a sound kit, some producers, some designers put them out as royalty free, and some put them out as non-royalty free. So let me just break down the difference in what would be royalty free and not royalty free. So a royalty free kit would be where you, as the producer, can buy a sample kit and use it for to however you want to use it, without having to give credit or even pay a percentage to the sound designer that has used it. All right. So that's a royalty free. That's from the royalty free standpoint, meaning that the consumer can do anything with the sample other than you can't resell the sample. That's the only thing you can't do with it. You can use it for, in a mainstream, with a mainstream artist. You can use them, for anything else. Only thing you can't do, you can't resell the sample. All right. That's royalty free. A non-royalty free sample would be where you would have to, just say, for instance, you get a major placement with that beat that you've used that sample in. So before you can move forward, you need to get permission. Well, not necessarily. Well, yeah, you got to get permission and get the sample clearance from the actual producer that created the sample. A lot of them may say no hassle-free master clearance. Just have to contact such and such, and we can work out the percentages, yada, yada, yada. So that's the difference in a royalty-free and a non-royalty-free sample. Well, we have been seeing, what I have seen in the last maybe year two, I've seen where I've had producer friends of mine that have got their music placed on mainstream artists' albums, and because it was royalty free, they didn't get, it wasn't nothing they could really do. I had one buddy of mine, man. One of his songs made it on a mainstream artist album, and of course it was royalty free. He tried to get in touch with the producer that made the joint, you know what I'm saying, and he went through a lot to try to get in touch with him, and I can't even remember if he was successful in getting in contact with him, but in a nutshell, that was a losing battle. You know what I'm saying? He was not able to go back and get a follow-up, or, I think he might have found out who the producer was and reached out to him, but I don't think the producer reached back to him. But, that's one of those things, from a royalty-free standpoint. I don't know any experiences on the non-royalty-free situation, but, it was just unfortunate from, that my buddy, you know what I'm saying, and this is the killer part, y'all. The producer that used the sample, he did not chop the sample up. He just let the sample breathe. You know what I'm saying? Only thing he did do was change, he transposed the sample. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do no flipping. He didn't do no chopping or none of that. He just transposed the sample. Literally all of the elements and the instruments that were in the sample, the guy just left. He just came back and slapped some drums on it. Really. So that was a losing battle right there. But it started a conversation. Excuse me. It started a conversation, man. Like, should producers that, purchase sample kits, should there be some kind of, courtesy, you know what I'm saying? Or if the artist if it's a mainstream artist, well, you know what? No, let's just X the artist out. Let's say this: if it's a mainstream producer, is it okay for a mainstream producer to use the sample and not have to give credit, or should a mainstream producer even be allowed to use it? So in your mind, you might be like, well, if he bought it, yeah, you know what I'm saying? The goal is to be able to use a sample and not have to clear it. I get that. You know what I'm saying? I can totally respect it from that aspect. I can respect that. You know what I'm saying? But, if a mainstream producer, used the joint, should, he give credit, or should he reach out to that particular sound designer and say, hey man, look, I'm using your joint, and I want to give you yada yada publishing. I don't care if it's 5, 10, 15, 30, 30%, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Should there be some kind of ethics, code of ethics, where, that producer should do that? Or what if it's a producer, what if it's not a mainstream producer, but he get the joint placed on a mainstream artist album? Because like the situation with my homeboy, the producer that used the joint, he wasn't like a mainstream producer. He just happened to land the joint, get a mainstream placement. should that rule apply? Should that same rule apply? Should he be like, hey man, listen, I know this was a royalty-free sample, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying, I want to give you some of the publishing, yada, 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 you know what I'm saying? That's the, that's where we at, you know what I'm saying? Now, in my case, I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have a mainstream producer give me publishing on a song that placed on a mainstream artist album. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of the samples that I made, probably out of the Marvelous Breaks chapter. Not chapter. Marvelous Breaks volume 2 or 3, which you can go pick up at machinemasters.com. You can go pick up all of the Marvelous Breaks and Marvelous Loops over at machinemasters.com right now. Shameless plug. But I sent the producer I sent them the samples, and he went through them, and he was like, "Yo, man, I'm using this. I'm gonna use this sample, and I'm gonna give you publishing." Matter of fact, he gave me 30% publishing on a song. You know what I'm saying? On a sample from a sample I made. Now. I just chalked that up as he just being a straight up guy, straight up producer, and he's a mainstream producer. You know what I'm saying? That did that. Now, my sample kits are royalty free. I do have a clause in there where it says my samples are royalty free, but you are required to give just that credit. Just give the credit on from where the sample came from. You know what I'm saying? Courtesy of Marvelous Breaks volume, yada, yada, yada. Volume 2, volume 3, or whatever. But this producer, man, he gave me, this mainstream producer gave me 30% publishing of the song. So I thought that was very dope. And, but that's one producer that's one mainstream producer that I know. They may have a lot of other producers out there that does that. You know what I'm saying? That do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I would hope, you know what I'm saying, that would be the case where, producers are just being stand up, you know what I'm saying? Because, deep down, the producer know that everybody's trying to eat, you know what I'm saying? And hey, look, there's enough bread for everybody to make. So I would love to, put that on your mind and help you to ponder that, you know what I'm saying? Even, for, those that may be even looking to get into the sound designing business, you know what I'm saying? That's something that you need to consider, whether if you want to do royalty free or you want to do non-royalty free, you want to do guaranteed master clearance. That's totally up to you. With all that being said, I still think that, you know what I'm saying, I will continue to do, my samples my sample kits as royalty free. Reason being is because I think, I have more of it's a better sell for me, or it's a better sell on the kit versus, you know what I'm saying, a master clearance, you know what I'm saying? Especially because I'm an indie producer that's just doing it too. So, you know what I'm saying, I don't consider myself as a mainstream sound designer. I'm not Ill Minds, or I'm not I'm not as big as Soul Surplus or MSS Audio or Audio Anthem, Crate Leads, you know what I'm saying? These guys, they are, they in a whole nother bracket than I am. So, and they have had major placement with major artists. So, they can kind of do that. They can do that because they have that type of leverage. They have that leverage to be able to, do that and still make the sale. Me, I'm just an indie dude just trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take. That's my spill on, the whole, royalty free and royalty free in the non-royalty free situation. Like I say, if you're looking to get into that field, there's definitely something that you want to consider. Once you put it out there, it's a chance that you might put it out, man, and your joint may go big, and you don't get the credit. But you may run into a stand-up industry producer that'll reach out to you and be like, you know what, I got you. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was real dope for the producer. And I'm gonna just mention his name, man. I think he's worthy of being mentioned. I had an opportunity to work with Static Selector. You know what I'm saying? And that brother, he looked out for me. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that, man. It threw me for a loop when he reached out and said, "Hey, man, look, I'm gonna give you some pub off of this." So I thought that was real dope. All right, so man, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to get into that second topic that's on my mind, that's real heavy on my heart. You dig? You're listening to the Showlab Producer Podcast, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yo, you are now in tune with the Showlab Producer Podcast. Nothing but producer stuff. You dig?
Yes, sir. You're listening to the Showlab Producer Podcast, man, where we talk about nothing but producer stuff. That's what we do over here, man. This is your boy Marfamo Beats. Glad to be back in the midst of everyone. If you're just tuning in, man, I am talking about some things that has been pressing on my heart over these past 2 years or so. And I said, man, once I would get back into this podcast thing, I was going to talk about them. So, the next topic that I want to talk about is, are you ready? Are you ready? I think this is going to be a big one here. From a sound designer standpoint, the startup of Splice.com and Sounds.com. Yeah. This one is a heavy one for me, y'all, because as a sound designer that makes a kit on a kit that I make is on average is 10 compositions, including, without the drums, with the drums and the stems, right? So when I started into it, which was the tail end of the beginning, if that makes sense, of Sounds.com. The tail end of the beginning of Sounds.com. So when I came in it, I was like at the tail end of where the money was good. The money was good, man. The money was beautiful, man. I mean, I of course, all my kits are through MachineMasters.com, and boy, those payouts were beautiful, man. Like, whoo! I could pay my mortgage with those with those payouts, man. Shoot, boy, I had to pay Uncle Sam back. It was so good. You dig? You know what I'm saying? Shoot, man, I'm telling you, it was beautiful, man. But boy, when Sounds.com came onto the scene, and I'm gonna start off by saying no shade to those brothers and to my colleagues that are over there and that they have stuff over there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, you got to get it how you get it. The opportunity, you know what I'm saying? That was an opportunity for producers to, sell their samples and kits in a whole different way. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? We're living in a time where everything is consumer friendly, easy access friendly, you know what I'm saying, and getting the bang for your buck. I get it. But boy, and hold on, let me start off by saying, and before I get into it, I had the opportunity to be a part of, sounds.com. A friend of mine initially a friend of mine that was, and I don't know if he has anything to do with it. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. But a homie that was really manning that and doing the recruiting, he initially reached out to me. I think I just couldn't get with the whole setup of it and how it needed to be structured. So it didn't work for me. And not only that, it was very tedious. You know what I'm saying? The way it was set up was very tedious, and they wanted a certain sound, and I just didn't do it because I wanted to continue to do what I was doing, and I was comfortable with, making the kits the way I was making them. So when they first came on the scene, I think people was just trying to get acclimated to it, but as time went on, you start to see this. I started to see a decrease, you know what I'm saying, just on the payouts of the samples, because the way sounds are set up is you pay us a foot, and I'm more to show but I'm gonna just explain it for those that don't know. You pay a subscription every month, and you're able to download as many samples as you want according to the amount of credits that you have. So it's almost so like you may. Let me just use for example. You may have a Pelham and Junior sample kit up there. Then you may have a Soul Surplus kit up there, and then you might have a Crate Lee's kit up there, and then you may have a Ill Minds kit up there, and then you may have a Kingsway Music kit up there. All right. So you have all these different kits up on the site, and you can go through there and pick which compositions you want to grab. You don't have to necessarily buy the whole sample kit. You can it's like iTunes. It's like iTunes Music. You can go download what songs you want versus having to buy the whole album for one song. Back in the day, if you wanted to hear the album, you had to download it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, no, that's not true. You can go in and download certain songs. Not iTunes Music. Let's just say iTunes. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say into the digital world, because before iTunes, how were we listening to music? We was listening to it on CDs. If you wanted a particular song, you had to get the CD. So let's say Splice is equivalent to iTunes, where you can have a variety of all these different type of songs, right? So that's how it's set up. So no longer do you have to be bound to buying the whole kit. You can go through a particular kit and buy what you want out of there. You know what I'm saying? So that's how sounds are set up, I think. Yeah, I think it's set up like that. I think Sounds and Splice is set up. And then along came Spice. I mean, not Spice, Splice. Splice it has a similar thing. You know what I'm saying? You can pay a certain amount of money for credits, and then you can go through all these different kits from all these different producers and stuff, and pick out what you want and download them. You know what I'm saying? You can buy extra credit. You know what I'm saying? If you run out of your credits for the month, you know what I'm saying, you can go back and you can, download more. So, you got these two monsters, for the lack of better words, that have came in and like changed the game. You know what I'm saying? Have changed the game on how, sound designers have, made money. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, you know what I'm saying, the everybody started coming in doing it. I mean, when I really started to get into, the whole idea of using sound kits and construction kits and stuff, you had like Prime Loops, you had like P5 audio, and then along came Ill Minds and, Frank Dukes and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And, these are like the pioneers of the sound designing of how we do it today. And now you got producers that are coming out all the time. And then you came with Splice and Sounds.com. And it's bittersweet because I do like the idea of being able to, pick what I want. But as a sound designer, man, that changed the game for me. You know what I'm saying? At one time, I was able to pay my mortgage with my sample kits. Now, boy, it didn't change the game. I'm not able to pay my mortgage just with the samples. And my mortgage is pretty steep. You know what I'm saying? We talking, to me in the state of Texas, $1,700 is a lot. You know what I'm saying? So, you do the math. You know what I'm saying? So, it's one of those things where now I got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Now I got to get resourceful. You know what I'm saying? I got to figure out other ways of getting it, getting it going, and I have to, and if I can just be honest with you guys, man, it's been pretty discouraging. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, wow, man. Like this thing here, man, it's like, you wait for the monthly payouts, man, and it be, I'm grateful for whatever God allowed me to get financially, but boy, it has been those two sites have changed the dynamic. It has changed the demographic, you know what I'm saying, from a sound designer standpoint, and then, but to stay in it, you know what I'm saying, you got to be pumping it out. You know what I'm saying? You got companies like Soul Surplus, Pelham Jr., you know what I'm saying? These dudes are pumping out kits every week, you know what I'm saying? And this is what they're doing full time. So they have that, they have the time to do it. And, they're getting resourceful too. You know what I'm saying? They're getting, they're making, getting placements and stuff with their samples and stuff as well. So, it's one of them things, man, it hit everybody hard. And I don't know, man, it might be a breeze. You might be listening to it and be like, well, man, Marv, I'm still doing good with my kids. Please send me a DM and tell me what you're doing so I can get back to it. You know what I'm saying? So please help, hook a brother up with the jewels, with the good, so I can get back to paying my mortgage with these sample kits. You know what I'm saying? But those have been two topics that have been heavy on my heart. And then, like I say, man, I always said once I start the podcast back up, those were going to be the two topics that I was going to start out by talking about. So I would love to know your thoughts. There's no way you can leave me a comment, but if you follow me on any of my social medias, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, man, please let me know your thoughts, man. We're going to get back into doing the podcast, man. It's probably going to be maybe twice a week. I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I will. You will be hearing a lot more of me. I will be having some guest speakers, some guest producers coming in that I've just been talking about and saying, hey, man, once I get the podcast going, getting back up and rolling, I want to have them on the show. for example, man, my homeboy, a good friend of mine, and he's an industry vet, Carlos Brody, from the Hitmen, from P. Diddy's production team in the 90s, late 90s, 2000s. You had producers like Stevie J, D. Dot. Man, it was a gang of them, and I'm going for a blank. But my homeboy Carlos Brody, he was a part of the Hitmen, and you have definitely heard a lot of his productions between, the whole Bad Boy team. A lot, he has some joints with Biggie and stuff, and he's a fellow Memphian. He's from my hometown. He's from my birthplace, Memphis, Tennessee, and we just linked up, man, and we built a friendship. You know what I'm saying? He's a dope brother. He has a lot of insight on the industry. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys that keep it transparent. So I asked him to be a part of the show once I get it up and going, man. So hopefully the next episode, man, I can have my homeboy. I will have my homeboy Carlos on the show, man. And we're going to just keep this thing going, man. Yeah. Appreciate you guys sitting down, listening, kicking it with me. Thank you for just being patient with a brother. I know y'all probably like, man, this dude Marv fell off, and I don't know what happened. So, but life happened, and everything is kind of, and life is still happening. But I was out, and I literally today, which Saturday, November. I'm thinking about my anniversary. Saturday, February the 22nd. I was outside washing my truck, and I said, man, you know what? I need to do a podcast. And I said, you know what? I need to do one today. I just got to do it. If I try to plan and say I'm gonna do it tomorrow or the next day, I wasn't gonna do it. So I just said I'm gonna do this today. So you guys will be hearing a lot more from me, man. And I'm gonna get up on out of here because I got some other stuff to do. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, grace and peace. You dig?
Yo, you are now in tune with the Showlab Producer Podcast. Nothing but producer stuff. You dig?